So welcome this morning. This is our energizing Hatha class. And today we're going to be really focusing on breathing. And to start, I'm going to suggest that you do lie down, bend your knees, stand your feet on the floor. And we're just coming to this lying down, constructed rest position, we sometimes call it, just to kind of relax your spine. And in the advertisement for this class, I mentioned that we all are aware of the fact that as we go throughout our day and different things happen, our breathing will change. So wouldn't it make sense if you change your breathing, different things might happen in your life? So we're going to test that hypothesis today about the reverse being true. If we change our breathing on purpose during our movements today, will we be able to affect the quality of the events of the rest of our day? So I'm not saying that we're all going to go out and win the lottery, but shifting our mood, shifting our concentration and our mindset can have a huge influence on how things play out. But we're going to test that ourselves. So we're starting in this lying down position just to relax the spine and to connect with the breath. Today we'll be using a counted breath and a little bit of retention, which means we hold the breath for a little bit. So just make sure that you're aware of the fact that breathing, although simple and you do it every day, is extremely powerful. Holding the breath is not appropriate for all bodies in all situations, especially if you have blood pressure that is worrying your doctor right now, if you're experiencing dizziness that can't really be treated or explained, or sometimes digestive issues, hernias. There's lots of different reasons why holding the breath is not a good idea. So it's important for you to evaluate carefully how these practices make your body feel and then change, do something different if what I'm suggesting isn't working for you. And it doesn't mean you're not good at yoga or you can't do a class like this. It just means you have to take a little bit more care and be more aware of your personal and particular needs. That being said, before we start counting out the breath or pushing the breath in any particular direction, we'd like to make sure that your breath is as natural as possible and you've been able to focus on what it feels like to breathe today. So if your mind is very worried or very burdened or very distracted, we just take this little break at the beginning of class to kind of gather the mind and to bring the attention into breathing. This just the simple in and out breath, nothing fancy, but an awareness of that breath. Now, during class today, we will be using a counted breath, and I'll start kind of giving you the count, and then I'll let you work with the count in your own mind. Let's explore a 4-second inhale, 4-second exhale while you're still resting, and just see how that fits. You may want to change that. But the idea is that we are looking for, at the beginning at least, an even ratio breath. So if you change that to 5 or 6 or whatever, or go to 3, all that's fine. So let's all take an exhale together now. And then we'll inhale 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhaling 4, 3, 2, 1. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, and exhaling 4, 3, 2, 1. And continue like that for a couple more breaths, adjusting that ratio of breath if I haven't given you the proper count for you today. And know that that's kind of the way, the kind of the rate of the breath that will time our movements to. Okay. Let's just do a quick little preparatory movement here. Let's bring one knee in towards the chest. Hold on to the thigh. Wiggle the toes. Roll the ankle in both directions. And then bend and straighten your knee a couple times. And you can let that foot come back to the ground. Bring the other knee in towards your chest. Hold on to the thigh. Wiggle your toes. Roll the ankle in one direction and then the other. Trying to isolate that movement just to the ankle joint, and then bend and straighten the knee a couple times. Good. And then let that foot come to the floor. Wiggle your fingers, stretch your hands, move each of the fingers and thumbs independently of each other. Roll the wrists in one direction, then the other direction. Bend and straighten your elbows a couple times. And then please roll over to your side and press up from the floor, and we'll come to our first mountain pose. So we'll move the blanket off the mat for now. You might want to get that back later. And come to mountain pose, Tadasana. For my friends who feel balance might be a bit challenged today, you might have to move your chair so that you can touch the side of the back of your chair with your hand. You can also move to a wall if that's more convenient for you. Take a moment to repeat awareness of the feet like we did a second ago, so that your ankles are ready to do a little bit of work. And then we're coming into a pose called Talasana. So before we talk about breathing, let's just get the movement coming up onto the balls of the feet and then lowering the heels back down. Like I said, you may choose to have something to help you with balance. Try not to wobble too much, and obviously I'm exaggerating there. And try to time the movement when we get to the breath with the breath. The other option is to add in arms. And that's an interesting variation as it does start to stretch into the lungs a little bit. Okay, so let's start to add the breathing. So we'll do the 4 count as far as from my perspective. Adjust at home if you're not doing 4 counts, if you're doing something different. Whatever you figured out works best for you. So exhaling here and then inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 3, 2, 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 3, 2, 1, and 1, 2, 3, 4, and 4, 3, 2, 1. Adding a small hold after the inhale. 1, 2, and then 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's do that one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, holding 1, 2, and then 4, 3, 2, 1. You may need to roll out your ankles or shake your knees or your wrists again. So coming back to mountain pose, when you've completed that, and really noticing how your mood or experience might be shifting as we start to change the way we're breathing. So this is an energizing class this morning. You wouldn't be doing this class before bed, I wouldn't think, but noticing how that helps you to feel. When you're ready, we're going to face the front edge of the mat in your mountain pose. Take your right leg back in a big step. So as far back as you feel comfortable. Initially, we're in a high lunge. I'm going to turn and face you. You're fine the way you are, but I just want to show you this movement on this back leg, and it might show up better here. So I want to take this back leg. We're up on the ball of the foot right now, and I want to pivot that heel in. I want to keep the hip facing forward, but just pivot the back heel in. We're coming into the warrior 1 stance. So I kept this hip facing forward, and I just pivoted on that back foot. Good. Place both feet deeply into the ground, and let's come into a little bit of a sequence here. We're going to be bending and straightening the front knee. I want to make sure that that knee stays over top of the ankle and doesn't wobble from side to side. Just check my breathing ratios here. Okay. So our feet are well grounded. Front knee starts straight. We'll exhale here. And then on the inhale, we'll come into cactus arms. On the exhale, we'll straighten the front knee, tuck the arms behind the back. And then on the inhale, we'll lift the arms up as much as that is comfortable. And on the exhale, take the hands to prayer. So that's the sequence. It'll take 2 full breaths. We're going to do this with our same counted out breath. So let's all exhale together, front knee straight, hands in prayer. Ready? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. And moving with that ratio of breath that you've set up for yourself. And now let's try a small hold. 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 2. And then 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding warrior 2 like this for 2. And then 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's continue that pattern for one more routine. Really emphasizing the inhale. And then let's step back into our mountain pose, just observing maybe the asymmetry in the body. And then I'll turn to the side to show the sequence from this side, but it's exactly the same on this side. So we'll take the left leg back. The hip stays square to the short edge of your mat. Nothing changes from here up. We just pivot on that back foot. So you might want to try that a couple times. Make sure your left foot is out to the left side of your mat. If you try to do this with your legs immediately behind each other, there won't be room to pivot on that back foot. So find your warrior 1 stance, and then we can come into the counted out breath. So we'll start here with an exhale. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's repeat that 2 more times. We're not retaining the breath just yet. And notice the quality of the breath. If you notice it quite naturally, your breath starts to make a little bit of noise in the back of the throat. If you're captivated by the sensations of breath moving through the throat, that is perfectly a good place to go. Now let's try a little bit of a retention for the next 2 rounds. So after the inhales, we hold for a count of about 2. And then go into the exhale smoothly. So when you hold the breath, you're actually really working with the energy of the body, really trying to amp up the natural energy of the body. And we're just doing a short hold of about 2 counts. And then when you've completed this last round, step back into your mountain pose. And just kind of notice, you know, the energy that you're creating for yourself, because this is an energizing class, more of a morning class. And we're testing the theory that when we emphasize the breath in different ways, that will have a ripple effect back into our mood and the kinds of events that unfold, how we perceive events as they unfold during the day. So I can't cause you to win the lottery with changing your breathing or anything like that, but our lives are made up of our impressions of what's going on around us. So when our lens is different, we have our rose-colored glasses on, so to speak, then we're going to feel differently about the events that are happening in our lives. We're going to have a different experience. So that's our hypothesis we're testing today. Okay, so coming into mountain pose again, if you've left the pose, we're going to use a little bit of chair pose action. So let's just talk about chair pose first before we get into the sequence. When we're coming into chair, it's not a matter of bending the knees and bending forward. That's a different posture. Chair pose is literally looking for that seat behind us. See, the buttocks should not be staying over top of the ankles. The buttocks should be back there somewhere. So practice bringing more weight back into your heels, pushing the buttocks backwards, and then bending the knees. So as you can see, my knees stay pretty much over the ankles. I'm not bending my knees forward of the ankles. My knees are staying pretty much over the ankles, and I'm really pushing the buttocks backwards. So you don't have to do the deepest chair pose ever. This is more about breathing today, but this is a really good way to develop a lot of strength in the lower body. So here's the sequence with this chair pose. We can come into chair pose, then we'll forward fold. Notice the knees still stay soft. Then we'll come up halfway. This is a way for the body to really find length in the spine, and you can still keep the arms forward if that doesn't load your shoulders or your back up too much. This really gives you a little bit of extra core work. And then take it into forward fold, and then come all the way up, and then arms at your sides. So let's add our breathing routine. This is going to start to feel a bit familiar. I'm going to suggest, though, that we start to extend the breath a little bit, or extend the hold a little bit. And again, we're playing with a bit of fire here, energy work. So if you find what I'm suggesting doesn't work, then you don't have to follow all the way. But we've been doing a 2-count inhale. For the first round of this, I'm going to suggest we hold on the inhales for the 2 counts. But then as we repeat this sequence, we could go to 3 and then even 4-count inhale, a hold after the inhale. And I'll kind of talk you through that as we get there. But be cautious with this work. It's actually very, very powerful. So from our mountain pose, we'll exhale here and then count 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 2, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 2, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 2, and 4, 3, 2, 1. Repeating that again. 1, 2, 3, 4, and holding for 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 3, 4, 3, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last round of chair pose. And holding the inhale for a count of 4. 4, 3, 2, 1. So holding after the inhale for a count of 4. And then exhaling for 4. Four, 3, 2, 1. And you may find that your energy is really starting to come up now with those longer holds after the inhales. So let's even the breath back out. I'd like to do a couple rounds of sun salutation. I'll show using a chair initially. If you have a different version of sun salutation that you really like, then we're just going to end up doing about an easy 3 rounds, a quick little 3 rounds. So if you don't use a chair, you can have your hands on the ground and do the same moves, just you're not using a chair. And the idea of inserting sun salutations here with an even ratio breath is to kind of distribute that energy that we've been amping up a little bit more fully through the body. So this isn't a real aerobic version of sun salutation. This is a version of sun salutation meant to really evenly develop equanimity throughout the system. So using that 4 count breath, the breath that I've been working with all morning, you may have a different ratio. We'll exhale here in mountain pose. And then inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Step right leg back into lunge. Inhale, lift your arms if that's comfortable for you. Exhale, come to table pose. Inhale, lift the chest. Exhale, round out the back. Inhale, step the right foot forward into lunge. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, mountain pose. Exhale, hands to the heart. Now we'll go with the left leg first. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Left leg back. 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. Left foot forward, lunge as you inhale. Forward fold. 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. So that's 1 round using the chair. Let me demonstrate a different version. Our chair friends, just continue with what we've just done for another 2 rounds. The breathing will be just about the same. For my friends who can weight bear on the knees and are more comfortable working closer to the floor, maybe we'll do this round together. Exhale here in mountain pose. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4. Right leg back. 4, 3, 2, 1. Lift the arms if you like for a count of 4. And then we can come back on the exhale to plank pose. Lower down. Inhale, chest forward. Exhale, prayer pose. Inhale, right foot forward, lunge. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, reach the sky. Exhale, hands to the heart. Now we lead with the left leg. Inhale. Forward fold. Half lift. Left leg back. Arms lift. Plank pose. Lower to the ground. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, prayer. Inhale, left foot forward lunge. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale all the way up. And exhale, hands to the heart. We have one more round of that. I'm going to come have a little peek at how you're doing. So you're either using the chair or doing the version I just showed, or if you have a different version of sun salutation, go ahead. The important thing is to count out the breath. So whenever you're ready, exhale in mountain pose, and then inhale, lift your arms and start moving through your sun salutation. Most important thing is the evening out of the breath now. Different movements come in or you wobble a little bit, don't worry. And after you do the right leg, then you repeat the sequence of movements leading with the left leg, and that completes our round. Counting out the breath. Good. And I'll meet everybody back into mountain pose. Okay, so we're just about all together in mountain pose. And then my next plan is to come into side plank. So we've warmed all the major joints of the body up through our work so far. Here's a version of side plank that you can try today. If there's a different version that suits your body better, then by all means. We can start by coming to all fours. And then I'm taking my right leg, extending it back, pivoting on the foot so that my whole right foot is on the ground. Adjust your right shoulder so that it's over top of your right wrist and coming into an opening to the side of the mat. Now, if this doesn't look like it's going to suit your body, we did talk about using a chair, which is quite possible. Like this, that would be possible to use. And if it's the wrist that's an issue, you might come down onto the forearm. That's a possibility as well. So, but I'm going to stick with our original kind of suggestion here, this version of side plank. And we're going to come into some movement with the top arm and our counted out breath. So once you found your version of side plank, make sure you're stable. And then if holding this arm up is uncomfortable, you can just tuck it behind your back and kind of move the shoulder blade on your upper back. But this is the exhale. And then as we inhale, we sweep the arm up over the top ear, kind of bow your spine, and then exhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's add retentions. 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 2, and then 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 3, 4, 3, 2, 1. And on the final round, we'll hold for 4. Or if that's safe for you. And then let's switch sides. So for my friends that are a little bit more anxious for deeper physical challenges, you can always use the full side plank version and move the arm. And remember, we're adding a count each time to the retention of the breath. As you get more and more comfortable with being in that high sense of energy bouncing around in our system. This is my last breath here. So let's take either a down dog or a child's pose. If you're using a chair today, excellent version of down dog involves using the chair. If you would prefer a child's pose, know that you can always have your hands under your forehead to help support that. Or you can take the traditional version of down dog if that's in your repertoire. And let's just let your breath flow freely with no guidance. You may notice that you have a deeper connection to breath now that we've been practicing in this way. And you may notice that you feel, sometimes I feel aerated. I feel more percolated. I just feel spaciousness where maybe there was tension or tightness before. Okay. And then the next posture involves being on the knees. I've got a blanket to cushion myself. Now, if you found that it was uncomfortable for you to be on the knees, here's where your chair would come in handy. I would stand about this far away from the chair and then just follow the arm movements with us. The breathing, of course, today is our real most important situation. So that's what we really want to focus on. Okay, so from this position, standing on the knees, or as I said, you can use a chair, just touch down on the chair with your hands instead of touching down on the floor. This is our exhale position. And then we'll inhale up, exhale, hands come to the floor or the chair. It's like a long prayer type pose. And then from here, shift into table and lift your right leg up. And then we'll come back into the prayer-like stretch. So this is what it looks like if you're using the chair. You start on your feet and you inhale, you exhale, you lift the right leg, and then you push back. So let's come into that with our breathing ratio. We'll start with the left side because we've just done the right and add the breathing ratio. And we'll add that small retention. And we'll repeat this 3 more times, twice on the left, once more on the right. And each time we repeat this, we'll add 1 count to the retention. So I'll try to talk you through it. This is our exhale position. Inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 2. And then 4, 3, 2, 1. Extending the left leg, 1, 2, 3, 4, retain for 2. Exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. All the way up as you count to 4. Holding for 3. Exhale forward, 4, 3, 2, 1. Right leg lifts. Holding after your inhale for 3. And then pushing back. And now we go to 4. Holding for 4 after the inhale. 4, 3, 2, 1. Left leg extends. Holding for a count of 4 after you lift the left leg. And let's all meet each other back into either the prayer pose on the ground or like a modified down dog, hands on the chair. Let counting of the breath evaporate for a moment. And then my friends that have their knees on the ground, come to table pose. My friends that are using the chair, you can be using the chair for this as well. So let's bring right foot forward into lunge. I'm going to take a moment here to lengthen the tailbone down and start to think about some real movement with the left shoulder blade. So my left arm is back, or sorry, left leg is back. And I'm going to be moving in that left shoulder blade here. So I'm going to turn backwards so this shows a little bit better. If your left leg was on the ground, this is how it would look from behind. I'm going to take that left arm up on my inhale, and on my exhale, I'm going to really try to pull that shoulder blade down. So the tailbone's pulling down and the left shoulder blade's pulling down. So work that with your breath a couple times. Really working that shoulder blade. And for those of you that are using the chair, keep working the shoulder blade. For my friends that are closer to the ground, you have the option now of really pulling that shoulder blade down as you exhale, slowly bending the back leg and seeing if you can take a hold of that back foot with your hand. Now this puts quite a bit of pressure on the left knee, so I want to make sure I have padding. And if it doesn't happen naturally for you, let this part go. It's not that important. Just take 2 more breaths here. Using your even ratio breath and really drawing that left shoulder blade down, especially if you've created the bind. And then let's release and take our downward facing dog, child's pose. Especially if you have taken the version where you grabbed a hold of your foot, you'll want to stretch the back of your leg out, I think. So down dog is probably better than child's pose if you took the bind. Taking 1 more breath in our neutralizing pose, down dog. And then let's come to lunge on the other side. So this time, left leg forward, right leg back. And we start to work with the right shoulder blade. Before we do that, though, we want to make sure the lower back is lengthened, which means this part of your body is kind of tucked under and down towards the floor. So space in the low back, no pinching or compression. Then if you can lift the right arm comfortably, then of course you would do that. And then on the exhales, you really draw the shoulder blade down your back. And on the inhale, you kind of release that. So it might look like I'm moving my arm, but actually I'm talking about the shoulder blade. So even if the arm were down, it's the shoulder blade that's doing the movement. If you're doing the standing version with the chair, you're going to stay right here. For my friends who have their knees on the ground and you're okay with this, you could explore after the shoulder blade is quite depressed, you could take your hand back to the foot and give yourself that little stretch through the quadricep muscles. What we're really focused on today, though, is breathing, and this just kind of really gets into the chest tissue, opens up some lung capacity. We'll take 2 more breaths, wherever it's safe for you to be practicing this morning. And then if you have got a hold of your foot, be careful as you release it, and we'll take our companion posture, which is probably down dog. For many of us, either using the chair or doing the more traditional version with no props. 2 nice, easy, full breaths. And let's come back to our mountain pose, just to evaluate our experiment so far. So the goal of this class was to energize us and to give us access to our mind state so that we interpret the events of the day in a different way. It's not necessarily putting on rose-colored glasses. We're in no level of denial about anything. But what we're doing is we're shifting the way that we perceive sensory data incoming from our world. So by shifting our breathing, we shift that rather than waiting for events to hit us a certain way and then we shift our breathing. I'm going to take my blanket and bring it back to where it was at the beginning of class to support my spine as I come into some bridge pose work. So we're going to come down onto our backs. And this will be the last retaining of inhales that we do. So if you haven't enjoyed this very much, know that we're almost done. And this is the version of bridge pose where you might take your arms behind your head. So just check out and make sure you have room for that. When we're doing work in bridge pose, we want to try to keep our gaze steady up towards the ceiling and make sure that your head and neck are neutral to the ground. We're not using pillows or supports here. We want space for that articulation to happen naturally. So using the same counted out breath, we'll do 3 rounds of bridge pose, increasing the length of the retention from 2 to 3 to 4 counts on each subsequent repeat of bridge pose. So we'll exhale here. And then inhaling 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 2, and then exhaling 4, 3, 2, 1. Again, 1, 2, 3, 4, holding for 3 this time, and exhaling 4, 3, 2, 1. Last bridge pose. And holding for a count of 4 at the peak of the pose. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Just let your back rest to the ground like we did at the very beginning, just easing into it. Now, for my friends who do not wish to be on their bellies for whatever reason, please repeat what we just did in bridge pose. That's perfect. For those of us who are okay to be on the belly, roll over. You've got some good cushioning, I hope, underneath you, so your pelvis is, a nice cushioned place. Okay, so let's bring our arms out into cactus arms. Legs straight out from behind the hips. And this is a movement, again, of the shoulder blades more than anything else. So we'll start with 3 breaths and we'll increase the retention after each inhale, just like we did in bridge pose. So let's exhale here. And then inhale, 1, 2, 3, 4. Shoulder blades lifting, hold for 2. Exhaling down, 4, 3, 2, 1. Lifting up, it's the shoulder blades that are lifting, lifting, lifting up to the spine and up to the ceiling. Hold for 3. And then exhale, 4, 3, 2, 1. Last time, 1, 2, 3, 4, and holding for 4. And 4, 3, 2, 1. Resting on your back if you were doing bridge pose in that sequence. Resting in crocodile pose if you were doing the prone work. And then if we aren't on our backs, could we please roll over onto the back? Bend your knees, stand your feet on the floor. So we've all come back together now. So when you're ready, let's come into a nice even ratio breath and no retentions this time. This is the movement. So on the inhale, we reach the arms and legs away from the center of the body. And on the exhale, we gently hug the knees in. Not a real big hug. Head and shoulders stays on the ground. Now let's start to gradually extend the ratio of breath now. So we'll start with 4 and then move to a couple times in 5 and a couple times in 6. Now, if the breath is getting too long for you, go back to the number that felt most natural. So let's all exhale together. And then inhale. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 3. And now we'll get a little bit longer to 5. Ready? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5, 4, and now to 6. 3, 2, 1. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And notice how your movements really have to slow down now so you can fill in the whole 6 seconds. One more like that. And then keep the hands on the knees and just let the knees rest towards the chest. It's like your thigh bones are just really heavy into the body. Let your breath settle. Now, if your back is really tender these days, or you just don't feel like you want to go into a deep twist, bring your feet to the floor and do the easy supine twist that we often do. This is a little bit deeper work, and it might not be suitable for you today. This is leg straight twist. So obviously my legs are not going to go all the way to the floor. I don't have that kind of flexibility. I'm going to take the arms out in my goalpost position. You can have different position with the arms. This helps me to feel really stable through my shoulders. And again, we're going to work with that same ratio of breath that we were just doing in that other pose. So we're going to take an inhale here for a count of 4. And then drop the legs to the side. 4, 3, 2, 1. Come back to center for a count of 4. And then we'll go to the other side. 4, 3, 2, 1. And coming back, we'll do that to each side one more time using a 4-second breath. Remember, knees can be bent, feet on the floor. And then see if you can extend to a 5-second breath. Maybe you go a little deeper into the twist. And we go to each side 2 times with our 5-second inhale, 5-second exhale. And then if you want a real challenge, try your 6-second exhale and inhale. Keep the arms pressing into the floor, shoulders pressing into the floor for your stability. And don't worry about getting your legs all the way to the floor, especially if you're doing the straight leg version. Just go to the degree you feel challenged, but still in control. I have one more breath to each side, and then I've completed the whole sequence. Once you've completed the whole sequence, let your knees fold in towards your chest. Maybe you give yourself a gentle hug like we did a second ago. And just let the breath soften. Let the feet come to the floor. And you can take one leg in towards the chest again. Point the knee out to the side and cross the opposite foot over that thigh. Rest here and make sure you still have that nice open space in the low back. We worked on that in lunge, remember? The nice long low back, tailbone tucked away from you a little bit. So make sure that your low back is still open and spacious, that it doesn't feel jammed into the floor. And then there's always the option, if you would like a deeper sensation, to lift the standing foot and hold on to the leg. If you find that you're really straining to lift up to get there, or it feels like you're really having a lot of strong sensation here, then maybe it'd be better to keep the foot on the floor. Notice your breath. The most important thing about today's class was connecting more deeply to breath and to understanding the mechanism that we have in the breath, how that affects us. So make sure that the way you're holding the posture doesn't hold you back from breathing easily and fully. Slowly release the foot back down to the floor. Take a breath between sides. And then we'll take that other leg, hug it gently to the chest. Point the knee out to the side, cross the ankle over the other thigh. And if we really strain to get into really deep versions of this posture, you might be quite capable of doing that, but what does it do to your breath? And I wonder how many times in our lives, I mean, we're strong, we can get stuff done. I wonder how many times in our lives we force ourselves into positions because we think it's necessary, but then we compromise our breathing. When we compromise our breathing, we hold back our life force. We're not fully strong. Even though we might be looking like we're doing a strength move, we're actually weakening ourselves. So hold this posture in a way that breath moves completely and fully and freely. That's how you really get strong. And then slowly uncross your legs, feet on the floor. And if there's anything else you need to do before we move into Shavasana, now's the time to insert that. And when you feel like you've thoroughly massaged all the parts of your body that needed it today, please come into a reclining position where you can relax, what we call Shavasana in yoga. Make sure you're warm enough and supported. And relax on purpose. So I want to come into a bit of a meditation here. And you've really been working hard with all of your movements and muscular effort. So I'd like to release as much muscular effort as possible so you can bring all your attention to your meditation today. So letting your legs be heavy, your arms be heavy, letting your spine relax, letting your head be heavy. And as your bones settle into a natural alignment to the earth, notice the breath flowing simply and quietly through your body. We're not trying to hold anything or count anything now. Your breath knows exactly what to do in this moment. Just notice the breath moving into the body and then gently leaving the body in a rhythm all its own. It's highly intelligent rhythm. And then could I please direct your awareness to the center of your chest? Us yogis think about that as the spiritual heart. And can you imagine, or maybe you actually would feel this, like a little bead of light in the center of your chest? A little candle flame, your own personal sunshine, a little star, something like that, a little bead of light in the center of your chest. And then can you imagine as you inhale, the oxygen feeds this flame. It increases the intensity of the little bead of light. And then as you exhale, you release some of that intensity. The bead of light softens or gets smaller. And just if you can, take a couple easy, simple breaths, focusing on the center of your chest. And imagine your breath feeding and intensifying the bead of light on the inhales and releasing on the exhales. And then to increase the capacity we have for focus on this practice, on this meditation, and to increase the effectiveness of it, you can actually add some mental sounds in your own mind. As you inhale and imagine the intensification of that bead of light at the center of your chest, you can say to yourself, hum, hum. And as you exhale and imagine the bead of light softening and getting quieter, you can say sa, sa. So on the inhale, hum. And on the exhale, sa. Take a couple more breaths like this. Keeping your focus on the center of chest as best as you can. And then if you like, you can release your hands so that your left hand is on your heart center and your right hand on your belly. And to prepare to transition to whatever comes next for you today, please take some deeper, fuller breaths, seeing if you can create a wave-like motion under your hands as the belly and chest fill with new breath, and then bravely and confidently release that old breath. Let's just take maybe 3 deep, full, wave-like breaths, feeling the hands move on your body as you breathe. And then when you're ready, you're welcome to roll over to your side, and we'll pause, resting on your side for a moment. And in the privacy of your own home, just evaluate the effects of our experiment today. Changing the way we breathe, the emphasis of the breath. How did that shift your energy? Do you see the world any differently now than you did when you got up this morning? And how might you take this new perspective, this new connection to breath and connection to energy with you into your tasks, whatever comes next today? And then when you're ready, please join me in a seated position. It could be seated on a chair, that works fine. And let's seal our practice by sharing the sacred sound of Om. Hopefully this rings in your heart for the rest of the day. Here we go. Inhaling. Namaste. So I'd love to hear how everybody's doing. So just give me a second to stop that.